involved in
Live
complex
streaming is on.
projects,
Mhm.
they know how to move things along when things break down.
Yeah.
And they solve the problem. So you've got a track going where you were getting another computer, but at the same time, you're able to move other things along. So life does not stop
Yes. I was able to
when
do
your
things
tech is not
like
working.
that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Things like that, yes, but with my IEP, my learning difference, it's I have a harder time keeping up if I don't have tech. If I have tech, I'm able to get things done
Yeah.
faster and smoother.
Of course, of course.
That's my
Okay.
issue is where I kind of have to rely on the tech. If I don't have the tech, I would actually be further behind than where I am.
Absolutely. But the question then is, what happens when Elon Musk launches a spacecraft that
It blows
explodes?
up everything.
I mean, what happens when things go wrong? What do? You can't
Can't.
just stop everything to wait for the tech.
No.
You want to say
There was
something?
that time where I'm not sure if you guys remember one summer where
Yeah.
I know a bunch of people had no service.
Great.
I don't know if you guys remember that, but a lot of like places had like no service, like all around, like in like Keswick, Uxbridge, Beaverton. There was like no service. I went down for like 2 days, 3 days. And my family and I, we didn't worry. We're like, we're actually heading somewhere that has no service.
Yes.
We told our neighbor that we'll be in this location here. If you don't hear back from us or see us come back around this time, send out a help party. We'll be in this location. So we just move forward, even with having no service.
Great example, Vicky. That's exactly the kind of thing you move forward even though you didn't have the service.
Yeah. Like it was like we were like, okay. But he knew where we were. He knew the locations and stuff. He wrote it down or something. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
but we got back. We came back in the reasonable amount of timing, but they were good.
Okay, so let me just we're going to go to Nico in a moment. Let me just point something out to you. In the last 10 minutes, Mayreen just did some pretty significant technical work on her toes, getting us reconnected to our video conference system, onto YouTube in high definition, with a recording going, so all the online recording asynchronous students will have the class, and we're back up and running. Okay, we're good? Now, just we can now have a class, but I hope that you will remember in person, those of you online right now, we just managed a tech problem on the fly, but we kept the class going in person here for those students who are here, and for everyone else watching the recording later, they will be able to see the whole class. And for what you may have missed, the online students in this in-person group, I can review this on the smartboard at any point. Okay, so let's see. So good. Okay, Nico, just hold your question. I just want to make sure we're fully connected, and then we're going to come to Nico, and then we're going to really get the class going. In the Cosmos right now, this is good. I see Ariel. I see a lovely face that has just popped in from a place we call the great, Saudi Arabian Peninsula, and there's a little country on the eastern side where there is, I think, Oman and Qatar and Bahrain, and then there's the United Arab Emirates there too, right sort of kind of away from the Persian Gulf. That's on the western side of the Arabian Peninsula. No, that's the Red Sea. You are right on the Persian Gulf, right, Mira, from Abu Dhabi?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and also from Oman.
Okay, excellent. Welcome to the global classroom at Durham College for our class. Mayreen, your good friend, has just done some major troubleshooting to get us reconnected, and we're back up and running. So we're just doing a little bit of review right now, okay, Mira, and then we're going to come to you and Mayreen to really drill down on this idea of, and here's the big theme today. What Mayreen and Mira represent, I think, in terms of global leadership that is helpful for you, is something I call the grounded open mind. The grounded open mind. Mayreen, especially in what she presents from the last World Expo she was a volunteer at. She's going to give you a virtual tour of this amazing mobility pavilion at the World Expo. You're going to see some really cool tech. But more than that, and she knows I'm going to talk about her this way because we had a meeting beforehand to prepare. That's something a leader always does, is you don't go into a situation without preparing. You don't go live in a meeting in front of people who are expecting something from you, and you just talk off the top of your head. You have to prepare and be ready. That's why we met beforehand, get everything ready. Maureen was born in the United Arab Emirates, moved to Canada with her family. Her mother was actually grew up in India and moved the family to the United Arab Emirates and then came to Canada. So we're talking about an individual who has a pretty big global mind and is able to adapt, who is open, and yet she's grounded in her faith. Now, when I talk about local, the idea that you are global and local at the same time, it means that there's a place where you are that you are grounded in some local place, whether it's your religion, whether it's an idea, whether it's Oshawa or something. It's the place that is local to you, and yet you are open to the rest of the world. You are local and global at the same time. I think that what she can help you understand is something about how to be grounded, but at the same time, remain open to the world and adjust to new situations so that wherever you go in the world, you are ready to deal with that culture and that situation because something in you is grounded. This is important. And so she can speak to this. Her languages, I think she speaks some Korean, is learning Japanese now, so that when we go to Osaka and present the global classroom in Osaka in Japan next year, she's going to be the one speaking Japanese, not me, although I'd love to learn it. I wonder if you've ever thought about leadership in these terms. I'm sure you've heard of the idea an open mind. You have to be able to adjust to different places where you are in the world, different situations. But maybe you've never thought about it in terms of also being grounded at the same time. Something in you is keeping you anchored to the world. Something in you. You're not just fall over the place. So you've got that anchor in you. Where is that anchor in you? I want you to think about that. Okay, Vicky. Yeah.
Almost is it on? Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost like you're rooted, like almost like you have roots growing out from in you, like almost like if you think about like your toes, you're rooted into the ground. Like, you know what I mean? I think of it that way. It's like
Yeah.
because I think a little bit like nature because I love like hiking and that kind of thing. So I
Yes.
find like I'm very grounded when I'm out hiking and I'm going out exploring because like I'm just like in something I just enjoy. So I feel like I'm very rooted into that stuff. Also, I am native too.
Yes. Yes. So does that give you
I
kind of a peace?
I get like serene. It's just like I just enjoy it. Like so when I'm
Sure.
out hiking and doing that stuff, I find like I'm very grounded in that situation, and I just enjoy the minutes of like seeing the birds fly by
And when you're
just like
grounded, doesn't that also help to kind of open you
to make sure
up
in the camera.
at the same
I'm not-
time? Or you can speak to me because they can see everything, okay?
Okay.
Doesn't that help you? You can be grounded. The more grounded you are, the deeper your roots are,
The more
in a way, the more open you
control.
can be, and the less fearful you are
more
about situations
and you're
because
calm.
you're confident that you have these roots.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Also, when I'm in class,
Does that make sense? Good. Okay.
when I'm in class, I find like I'm I work hard and I present myself well. I believe. I hope I do. I
Yes.
saw the screen went red. Is that okay?
What's that?
I saw the screen
Oh,
went.
it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. No technical issue.
Yeah, she's working on it. She'll let us know if there's anything. Yeah. Good.
Like when I'm in class, I try to participate. I try to, communicate with people. 'Cause you do things like that. It helps other people sometimes feel more connected. Because I was talking to another student in another class, and I appreciate you asking so many questions. He's like, it actually helps understand the class.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, that actually made me feel, oh, I'm glad I've actually helped out somebody else. And it made me feel a little more rooted into the class.
Good. Okay. Well, let's stop.
Yeah.
Make sure Nico, because Nico has a question.
Of course.
And then want to make sure that we also can get to Maureen and Mira at the same time. Because of the tech issues, I'm changing a bit the way the class is delivered right now. I have to. There's time. I'm going to move the review to the side. And we'll see if we have time for that. But there are a number of things I want to discuss with you, but we'll see if we have time. The critical thing is, when you have a problem and you've lost time, you have to cut something. You can't try to squeeze everything in and move even faster. And those feet under the water are moving. You got to just accept that because something happened, you can't do everything. So then what do? You focus on what's essential, what needs to be done. And what needs to be done today is Maureen is here, Mira is here. You need to interact with them and these bigger ideas around the grounded open mind. I need to get some notes there for you. So let's go to Nico, and then we're going to come to the two of you. Okay, so Nico, you want to say something?
Speaking about tech problems, I broadcast for the Lords, all their games.
Yes.
Every week, all the time, and we have streaming problems every single time, tech problems every single time,
Yep.
and usually has to resort to restarting it, or sometimes even just not streaming, because my boss is just like, just forget it,
Right.
because like we're streaming on like a gaming computer, so it's not that, I guess, reliable in my opinion. But it's not just that, it's also the cameras you got to worry about, and then all the stuff that's connected to everything, because you have to connect the camera to the computer that's doing the live stream.
Yeah.
And just starting the live stream sometimes too. We stream on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And it messes up quite a lot. So usually you have to resort to restarting the stream, which takes a bit and takes time out of the people who want to watch.
Yeah.
And
so how do you manage that sort of emotionally when something's not working and you wish it could? What do you do at that point to kind of make sure that it doesn't take over everything and ruin everything?
Well, because since I'm also in literally the broadcast program, we're trained to like keep calm when it comes to situations where stuff's breaking down.
Yeah.
And we're not panic at all, because once you panic, you're basically done.
Well, you can't think straight.
Yeah.
Because if you're panicking and there's too much going on in your mind. So if you find yourself in situations when things break down and you're panicking or you're all over, then you might want to practice a little bit of breathing and mindfulness. But deep breathing is good too, in your gut, through your nose, to kind of get yourself grounded again, back into the moment. Yeah.
And even in our class, like we have a studio and 3 cameras, and we're supposed to do a show. And one point, the 2 cameras just stopped working in the middle of the show, and it takes forever to reboot them. So we just shoved the cameras out of the way. It's like a big one you have to like move on.
Yes.
And because there's 3 different people you have to switch to. So instead of it looked bad, but we just had to move it over and show the person. And so we got it done. It was live too.
It was live too. Any good leader knows that the tech is only there to enrich the experience. But the critical thing will always be the personal connection with people. That will always remain the most important. So on that note, okay, thanks. Are we able to show the virtual tour part? Okay. while Maureen is bringing up something that she's going to explain in a moment, and then Mira will join as well, I just want to tell you what she's about to show you. And are you able to explain at the same time what you're doing, or do you want me to? Yeah, go ahead. So let's see. She's about to show you some really cool tech, you know, sophisticated tech, and it's probably going to work well. Okay, so now we're going the other way. Tech is going to work. And I just want to also remind you that the World Expo that you're seeing this from, the World Expo of 2021, is a showcase going back many decades to the newest engineering and technology that humans have developed to make our society better. And that's what we've been doing for many, many decades, going back more than 100 years with the World Fairs and then became the World Expo. It's a place where all of the countries in the world come together to display their latest engineering and technology in a positive way to show what's possible for humanity. So you want to go ahead and she will explain. I'm going to go over to the notes a little bit and help out with that. And then everybody online is with us. We're good. Go ahead. Okay.
Hi, everyone. So today we're going to have a little virtual tour into the Mobility Pavilion. So the Expo 2020 in Dubai had one main theme and then had three sub themes. So the main theme was connecting minds, creating the future, and the sub themes were mobility, sustainability, and opportunity. So I was part of the mobility district, so I found that I would like to share it with all of you. And the best way to do it is through a virtual tour, so it feels like you're really there. So I just had a couple of notes that for you to get a better idea of what the expo actually is. It is a global gathering of nations dedicated to finding solutions to pressing issues of our time. So usually the theme talks about what sort of issues we're trying to tackle, and it is organized around that key theme and attempts to improve humankind, and it showcases cutting edge ideas and technology and innovations. So we're just gonna get going, I guess. So I guess strap your seatbelts for the virtual tour.
Okay.
Um,
And you're doing this off your iPhone?
my iPad.
Okay. Oh, your iPad. Okay. Go ahead. So
The iPad.
Te-
So it feels like you're really there. And this is the Elif Pavilion, uh, the Mobility Pavilion. It's called Elif. So Elif is the first uh, letter of the Arabic alphabet. It has the sound A, and one of the facts is that the sound is the only sound, one of the only sounds that almost every language has. There are some sounds that not every language includes, but the A sound is one of them. And it's also Aleph because it's the first letter of the alphabet, which means that mobility has been with us since the beginning of time. Uh, Mobility essentially is not only moving from one place to another, it is moving ideas and thoughts and just technology in general to from one place to the other, not just to the world, just not just on Earth, but also now outer space. So we're going away from just our planet. So this is the pavilion. That's what it looked like while we were there. Um, Now we're going to go inside closer to it.
do you need some help at all? Okay, good. You good? Yeah. All right.
So this over here is the breed of the horse is called Al Kamsa horse. They are known for their speed and agility. And we have two here, as you can see. If you pay attention, the mare, the mother horse, has her sculpture has a mechanical leg. If you can tell from over there, she's not all machine, but just a part of it. This signifies that we use technology as a crutch, and like we were not completely integrated with it in the past. So the mare is essentially our past with technology, and the foal is almost translucent, so it signifies our present and that we're now almost seamlessly integrated with technology, and that has become a part of our everyday lives, and we use it on the daily. So that's the foal. Uh, can go right inside.
And this is the mobility pavilion, right? Okay.
So this is us inside the mobility pavilion. We have horses around here, and they're essentially leading us into the pavilion. It's too dark to see, but on the wall we'll see like images of desert. This is like the deserts of Dubai, and there's a space or like an area. It's called Saruq Al Hadid, where the ruler of Dubai was traveling by helicopter, and he was able to see that there's an archaeological site in the middle of the desert, and no one knew about it. So the logo of the expo, if you take a look online, was inspired by a oh there it is on uh, the expo logo.
Is that what it is? You'll see in the
Yes.
in the other panel right now, that is a frozen frame of Coldplay's concert at Expo in 2021. And in the top left-hand corner, the logo for Expo actually was 2020, but then it was held in 2021
Because of the pandemic.
pandemic. Okay, so is the ring?
Yes. So the ring up there is the logo of Expo, and it was inspired by a gold ring that was found at that site. So that was the inspiration behind the logo of Expo.
Thank you,
So
Medea.
she's just gonna help.
Mayrene's sister, she can help too. Great, go ahead.
So yeah, if you look around, so it was it's a circular area that we've entered, and that's the desert on the walls. Now we are going to be transported from from the present to the past, and we're gonna make our way to the present and then the future.
Okay.
And we're gonna step onto an elevator that will take us to the past. And this elevator is one of the largest in the world. It is
It's
the largest, okay,
elevator
is
in the
the
world.
largest, and it can carry up to 180 people at one time. And it takes about 84 seconds to go from like the ground floor to the first floor, which will show us the past. So let's see if we can step into.
To see the elevator, we click on that. And then
Okay, so now we've entered the elevator, and we're gonna go through a show that will transport us.
With the elevator, you said 184 people. Depending on the weight ratio, does that mean less people going into the elevator? I'm just thinking that aspect. Somebody with, like, for weight ratio, because
Yes.
it's 184 people.
Right.
That's average size.
Yes.
So what's the weight ratio? I'm just
There should be a weight, because obviously
Yeah.
so it's a flat elevator, like in a circle, like
Mhm.
circle shape but flat. And they should be able, like they would have, at the time it was COVID.
Yeah.
So people were social distancing, so we didn't have the highest capacity.
yeah.
We
of
were
course.
lowered capacity, and then we probably had, maybe instead of 180, we probably had 50 with
Okay.
enough room for everyone to stand around.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So that's us in the so this little like elevator. There's the Bedouin girl. So that's like native to the UAE, and she's reaching out for something. So at the end of the show, we would be able to see what she's reaching out for. Lon, would you want us to show the?
well, come down. I remember it's a little dark at this point. Go to the point where you're on the elevator, and I'll explain a little bit more so we can see everything, because there's a part where it's dark, but it's also interesting as we start to see some of the images coming up. But the idea of this entire pavilion is that we're talking about the whole force of mobility in our lives today. And this is what the pavilion was trying to demonstrate, was how mobility can be something that we can see through the lens of historical events as well as mobility today. But the idea for you as a global leader that is really important as we look at mobility is that Mayreen, in her traveling from different countries, remember the family began in India, moved to United Arab Emirates, came here. There's an ability to migrate and move from one place to another. And for the international students here, this is something that you can probably understand. But for those students, I want you to also keep in mind the part about the grounded open mind. I have seen many people who move a lot in the world today, and they go from culture to culture, and they're able to adjust. But then they have difficulties adapting. They have difficulties with the stress, for example, of having to adjust to a new place. We might call it, for some, when you are younger, a kind of homesickness, that you want to be back in the place where you were born or the place where you grew up, but now you're in a new place, and it can cause a lot of stress for you. To be grounded, to have something where you are rooted in your heart, in your soul, whether it's a religion or something else, will help you to deal with that stress, will help you to adapt to new situations, whether you are adapting to a new country, new people, or whether you have been asked by your boss at a company to move to another country to maybe open up a new division there or a new office that you might have to be the executive of. How are you going to learn the new language? How are you going to be able to integrate yourself with the people there and not find yourself dealing with this kind of emotional turmoil of where am I? Where do I belong? What am I doing here? You need to be grounded. Where are you going to find that grounding when everything is changing around you? In their case, perhaps we might say it's faith or religion. You don't need to have those things in your life. It can be something else. My question to all of you today, as we do this, and we look at mobility, we look at moving, we look at adapting to different places, is what grounds you? Let me just put this on the board for you now, okay? And are you able to get to something that's got more light in it? Because it's really, and maybe the elevator part, so that we can see exactly what you're talking about. But what is it that grounds you? Okay. Now, let me remind you again. Do you know how fast my feet are moving right now underneath the water? Because this is not working the way we wanted it to work. It's too dark. You can't see everything. But now we're adjusting, okay? Now we're adjusting. So let's make sure that we can see everything here. And if not, we're going to move on and we can explore the bigger themes here. But are we able to see, and you can keep going? Okay, go ahead.
So we've been transported now to the past, and we've landed in 9th century Baghdad. And this is the study of Abu Yusuf al-Kindi. You can see sitting right here. He was part of the House of Wisdom in 9th century Baghdad, and he was a philosopher, and that's the House of Wisdom there. You can see. So the sculpture that they have of him right here is very lifelike. I have a video that I could show later on, but it, like, you can actually see like the skin texture and everything is very lifelike. And this was actually created by a New Zealand-based workshop. It's called Weta Workshop, and they've actually collaborated with a lot of famous movies that you might know about. So Lord of the Rings, Avatar, Dune, The Hobbit, obviously, and King Kong. So they work on like really big scale projects, and they were the ones who did all of the sculptures that you see here in this pavilion. So I don't know if you can take a closer look. So you can see like scrolls and all of this. So this is essentially like a recreation of the House of Wisdom. Now we'll go to here. So we've left that room and we've come here, and there's a quote by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who is the ruler of Dubai. And it says, man's development depends on the power of his ideas and his ability to spread them from one person to another across deserts, continents, and oceans. So this is kind of like the mobility bit. And over here you can see, I forget how long it is, but it's essentially like a 20-meter long bas relief, which is a certain type of carving. And so we're gonna enter this room. It's called the Room of Giants, and you'll see why in a minute.
The Room of Giants.
There we go. So over here you see three giants that are almost 9 meters tall, and they are also called the giants of mobility. In the Middle East, here we have Abu Yusuf al-Bakri, Ibn Battuta. I don't know if some of you have heard his name. And then we have a local legend who was born and raised in the UAE. And if you have a look at this bas relief over here, it essentially talks about the history of mobility. So you have like people walking, and then if you like look ahead, it's shoes, the horses, the chariots, trains, ships, all of the mobility progress that we've made over time. And that's the room. And if you go online yourself, you can have more information if you click on all of this information bit. But yeah, you can see the ships, the train, steam engine.
The idea that you are always moving is something that you have to learn how to deal with as a person in a position of leadership. You are going to be moving from not just place to place, but project to project in your life, in your career. There's a very good chance that you probably will change your job every 5 to 7 years. This is what we see. This is what has been studied about employment today, is that people do not stay in one place as long as they used to. People do not stay with one company. People do not create companies and manage those companies for as long as they used to. They go off and they start something new. It's constant movement. And this is very, very exciting. But it also can mean that you lose your grounding. So that's why I'm going to keep trying the best I can to bring back what Maureen is saying today in terms of the context, to help you to understand what the grounded open mind means. At the end of today's class, I think you're going to understand more about being grounded than being open. I think you understand, most people do, that an open mind is very important in being able to create new things, to be innovative, to be interested in what you're doing, to not be stale and boring. But then how do you make sure that the kite stays with the hand and the string that's holding it? How do you make sure that the kite doesn't fly away from you? How do you make sure that you stay grounded and you can handle all of this? Okay, so yeah, please. This, by the way, when I saw this, now we're able to see with a little more light. I'm sorry about this. When we were setting this up, I failed to notice myself as we were looking that parts of it may look a little too dark on the video wall, but that's my mistake. Okay, so sorry about that. But I remember when she was showing me this, the lifelike representation of this figure comes from the very same people who created the figures in movies like Lord of the Rings and Dune and Avatar. And as we went close up, we could see the hairs on his hand. I don't know if we can do that now, but this is the kind of, amazing technology that you're looking at, is this lifelike image or sculpture, 9 meters high, right? So there's his feet go, you've got to look down a well to see his feet on the another floor. So I remember you have to stand here and you're looking at him at sort of the chest level, and then you look down and it's his legs going all the way down to the next floor. So this kind of representation, lifelike, is high-tech stuff. And go ahead, maybe. Tech? Yeah. Okay.
So just a quick I guess, two lines for each giant, and why they're so, revered in the room. The first gentleman over there, he was actually born and raised in El Andalus, which is modern day Spain. And while I was speaking about grounding, his quality was that he actually never left Spain. He never left the country. He met and talked to a lot of the travelers that would come in, and based on that information that he got from all of the travelers, he compiled books and information, and he had like there's history books based on what he found out. So I think it's important to note that you don't have to really travel to get information. It's just, again, communication, speaking to people, and kind of working on that. Then Ibn Battuta, he was a Moroccan explorer. He actually set out to go to Saudi Arabia, Mecca from Morocco, and he thought it would take him like lesser time, but he ended up spending 24 years out of the country, and he returned to Morocco after 24 years, after having traveled to China and Egypt and different parts of the world. It took him 24 years. So that's
How many of you have heard of Marco Polo? Put up your hand. Okay. Yeah, Marco Polo. You might go swimming if you've ever been in a pool and you hear kids going Marco Polo in a pool, when they're playing a game. But the real Marco Polo, we often say, in the 1200s, was the first global citizen. He went from the western part of the world, Italy or Venice, lived in China for 27 years. Well, actually, he wasn't the only one who was doing these kinds of exploratory expeditions, often involving trade and commerce. As Mayreen is explaining, so did this individual. Imagine the kind of culture shock that these people were dealing with then. How would they deal with it? How will you deal with the culture shock of going somewhere else, of having to work somewhere else, be somewhere else, and you have to be parachuted into this place, and you have to adjust, and you can't break down, you can't go home. How are you going to stay grounded? Anyways, just Vicky, hold your thought, and then we'll come to the discussion. Maybe just a few more minutes of this, and then we'll really open it up to the bigger. There's a lot that you could see here, and again, I apologize. I should have selected something with a little more light, but keep going, okay? What's that? Yeah, well, for sure. We'll post it. Yeah. Go ahead.
And then we just have over here a pearl diver. So this is one of the businesses or the trade that was really significant to the UAE, pearl diving. And it just basically says that even though there's risks, it's dangerous. If you have to make a living or if you really have to do something, you have to take that risk. Okay, and then this is a little room over here. This globe over here talks about the old Dubai, so the history of Dubai and how it came from where it was and how it's known today. And then we go in here. This is the rulers of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the United Arab Emirates, and Dubai is the commercial capital, like Ottawa and Toronto. And here's just some quotes that the rulers said, and they both have passed now, but they were kind of like the pioneers of the country. And while you're there, this is actually a video, so it kind of feels like they're still there with us. So that was a nice little detail. So now we've left the past and we're going into the present. So this room essentially is just showcasing the landscapes of like the landmarks of Dubai. And then we go into here, and there's a little video here of someone who works in the Dubai Ports Association and talking about how we've kind of transported information across the globe. There's a video there. Connected world. And then we go into this little room that showcases information about that. This is a little video about AI, artificial intelligence. and how Dubai.
Let's run it, see if we can. If not, we'll stop and we'll start the discussion. It's a little bit difficult to
I don't know if we
really
can hear
see,
it.
but
We can't really
okay.
hear the audio.
Okay. Oh, that's better. It's we can try with the audio here, and then we can put the link in for the students. But if not, uh, we'll stop. Okay. I don't know if it's going to work with the. That's okay. Why don't you just freeze there? Freeze right there. Oh, you can, okay. Let it run. Okay, just let it run, and we can actually begin the discussion. Truth be told, if we'd had more time to set this all up today, this would have been seamless. It's not working exactly the way we want, and it's because I didn't have enough time to get together and make sure that we could do all of the visual presentation. I want to make sure that we can talk about these ideas, bring Mira into this. She can explain as well, and Maureen can explain a little bit more about some of the really cool tech that they did see at World Expo in terms of the important exhibits there. And I'd also like to be able to finally bring the discussion back home for us to understand this whole idea of the grounded, open mind. How you can stay grounded when you are constantly moving and exposing yourself to new things in a world, a global world that is always changing all the time, wherever you go. Are you able to deal with change, constant change? How do you not go crazy? How do you use that change to inspire you, inspire others, and create more and lead? That's where we want to go with this, okay? So, okay, Mira, can we bring Mira in? And are you ready to interact a little bit with all of us in the global classroom? Maureen's going to bring you full frame from, was it Abu Dhabi? Yeah. And we can really start the best part of the class, which is the interaction with everybody online, in person, and if we can, we'll get some better things up on the video wall that we can see clearly. But don't sweat it, okay? It's good. So, Mira, welcome to the global class. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are? What your involvement has been with the World Expo, and we're going to start our bigger discussion about the ideas we've been setting up so far. Go ahead, Mira. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maureen, for making me join this amazing
Could be,
session.
hold on. We can't hear you. It could be, I think I know what it is. Yeah. Go ahead, Mira.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
I
we
was
can
just
hear
going to
you.
do that because I wanted to say I'm technically brilliant. I'm not. It's taken me a long time to learn this, but I wanted to show off. But I'll let her show it, okay? Go ahead. Good.
Okay, go ahead, Mira.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am originally from United Arab Emirates. I was born in a small city here in Abu Dhabi called Al Ain, which is a very conservative city where you can see the actual culture of United Arab Emirates. And I have been also moving from one city to another. And I really enjoyed your talk about being grounded and also holding through the cultures in various places wherever you go. So from Al Ain, I moved to Abu Dhabi and to start my education in Khalifa University. I graduated from there as a chemical engineer. And while I was still studying in the university, I joined Expo 2020 Dubai. It was a very challenging phase, being of course, in a different city, because for me, I was the first um, uh, to be out of the city of Alain from my family and just pursue my degree. I could actually be able to. And while pursuing my degree, also working as a part-time job as a VIP host in Dubai Expo and Korea Pavilion specifically was such an honor for me. And I took it as a challenge. This phase in my life, I would say that it was the highlight of how I grew up in a lot of aspects in my skills, in my career, and also in my time. So when I was in Expo, it was running in 2021 for 6 months. Korea Pavilion was an open pavilion space where we could actually also experience the weather whilst being in the building itself. And maybe I'm not sure if I can share some pictures of.
Yeah, if you can, we'll try, as long as it's fairly easy to show, but go ahead. And so can I just make sure I understand for a moment? You said that while you were in the Korea Pavilion, the weather that was going on outside was actually going on inside too? So they were simulating the weather inside?
It was an open space. It was kind of like a Bedouin tent. Where it resembles how in the past Emiratis used to live in the desert, and technically Expo was in the middle of the desert. You can
That's
say
right.
it was an industrial area, but then I really like the idea how they kind of built the architecture of Expo 2021.
Oh, great. We've got something excellent. Maureen's got something on the board, so let's bring the view of bring us back on the wide shot. Yeah, that's right. Good. So everybody can see. Can you go ahead now, Mira, and sort of narrate for us, explain what we're seeing on the big dashboard? Please go ahead.
Yeah. So here you can see like the moving cubes, and since we were in the mobility, then everything should be dynamic, everything should be moving, and we really like that the colors that you can see in these rotating cubes resembles the culture of South Korea. The color red, blue, green, yellow, white, and you can see 1,600 cubes, and I think every 10 minutes, as I recall, they used to turn on and off. And they also could resemble some letters like Smart Korea, as is the slogan of Korea Pavilion. And occasionally it could, for example, resemble these LED lights could resemble the UAE flag, for example, the National Day. And maybe you can see a better picture from the side later on in the architecture of this building, where you can actually see the tent resemblance of the whole building. And here you can see, here clearly, it's like a tent, and it's not a very closed area. It's an open space where people can also experience the heat, and also they would experience the sunlight. And it was kind of challenging for us also, but we could actually live in how in the past people used to live in such a heating space. But also when you enter, you can see a lot of technological aspects along with the culture of the UAE and also the culture of South Korea. Here is where the audience can sit on the right side to enjoy cultural performances, K-pop dances. Every 1 hour, there could be a specific dance going on. And
Yes.
famous thing, and in South Korean culture, it's very important. Here, let me just speak and jump into how you start your own tour. Um, you can independently be your own tour guide by just holding the Samsung phone and start and personalizing the whole phone as if you're just touring yourself, and you can just put in your picture, your family picture, and then the phone tells you what to do, actually where to go exactly, because there's like a GPS also attached to this device and can locate where you are in the pavilion exactly. Here you can just type your name, and then it tells you what you should do next, which is very really amazing. And then you can move forward. Once you personalize on tour guide, you can just go a bunch of a group. Okay, now it tells you you need to walk. Once the tour starts, tells you that you can just go on.
Let me just stop for a second, only to check in with all of you. I feel we should just keep going with this because at last we're seeing the tech really clearly that I want you to see from World Expo. And then we can talk a little bit more. Or would you like to stop for a moment with any questions that you have? We can do that. Or would you rather we just keep going so you can really see what was happening there in terms of some of the cool tech? But we need to come back, at least for the final 10 minutes, because we're about 20 minutes away from the end of the class right now, if you can believe it. But for the final 10 minutes, we need to answer this question. And we're going to ask Mira to answer this question too, since we've now learned she was the first from her community to go away to another place. How you deal with culture shock and stay grounded. I think in Mira's case, it was probably fairly easy because she was still in her same country. But I suspect if I asked Daniel that question, or Sue Young that question, or Kellyanne that question, we're going to get something a lot more interesting about how you adjust and stay open but grounded at the same time. Okay, so guys, get ready. Okay, for this. Mira, please continue, and then in about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to stop and make sure that we can deal with these big questions. Go ahead.
All right. So here you can just go and follow the lines, and then here where you can see the whole pavilion space, you can see these moving cubes, the vertical view cubes where it moves with the dancers in the arena. And like it's what I really liked about this pavilion is that everything around you has lights, everything was dynamic, everything was moving. And up in the ceiling you can see these small also LED plates. They also move like a wave because it also resembles the Hallyu wave, which is the K-pop industry, the beauty industry, and all of that is part of South Korea's mission to promote their own culture globally.
Yeah.
And here you can move on to the next phase where you can go to the ramps. And okay, here's the Korean restaurant. I really liked that the Korean authentic food was also there. You could also enjoy the different flavors, all of it's all over the place, which is really great.
But it's
And now,
futuristic. It's futuristic at the same time. So
exactly,
that's
yeah.
culture shock. We're confronting the future too here. Are you ready to do
Mhm.
that? Keep going. Yeah.
Now you just move to the first ramp here where you could see the, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we're good.
Okay, so okay, my screen turned off. Where you could see the cubes in a very zoomed in space, and within your phone, that the tour guide that you're holding in your phone, you can actually use it as a virtual reality device where you scan each barcode within the ramp, and what it stops you to kind of visualize the future projects that South Korea is working on. And one of them was the flying taxis, hydrogen
Flying
cars.
taxis. Flying
Yes,
taxis?
actual flying taxis. Yeah,
Huh.
where people can just go to. Okay, all right, great. I'm back here, and where people can actually go through helicopters and just fly to wherever that person want to go, and then just come back. And okay, okay. So here, I just want to explain very quick. This should be actually the first phase of the tour, where you can actually see the whole revolution of technology, first starting from Morse code to ones and zeros after that. And then after ones and zeros comes the digitalization and the whole technological revolution. And it's very interesting because it really showed how the world is moving towards, moving towards the future.
Yes.
And actually, it's you can see like the mirrors up and down, where it kind of shows you that it's infinite. It's like it goes in an infinite way, that it never stops, and it makes space for the future to actually also think about more solutions, more technological solutions, AI, and more.
Mm. Fascinating. Let's stop for a second, okay? Because I think that there's so much we could look at here. Um, yeah, do you want to? Can you freeze there? You able? Let's freeze. Excellent. Let's stop just because I want to make sure that we have enough time to just address some of these big ideas here that you're really helping us to open ourselves to, Mira, and that is the future. Now, let's stop and remind ourselves that we're in a classroom right now. We're here to learn. And I want to come back to why we're here exactly. And that's because this is a global leader class. So let's remind ourselves of that. Mira, are you okay if we stop and please, we're going to bring you in for the discussion as well,
Yes,
okay? So are you
definitely.
okay to stay with us a little longer?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
great.
sure.
Thank you so much for this. And I happen to love the image of a young woman in a hijab and a tie. It's so Western. It's so male, and yet we've got the hijab. I mean, this is a new world. It's so many different things from different cultures that come together. And what are we creating? Something maybe new. Okay, culture shock. The future. There was a very important book written in the 1970s called Future Shock. Have any of you ever heard of the book? Alvin Toffler. He's one of the great sort of futurists and visionaries of the future. It was a best-selling book. It was called Future Shock. And what he was trying to say then, and what we have to deal with now, is that the future is something that is potentially going to overwhelm all of us because technology is changing and humans are changing faster than we ever imagined. Are we ready for that? Now, you've just seen a little bit of a tour, introductory, through what's called a mobility district in the last expo. There was the mobility pavilion. That's what Maureen was showing at the beginning. Now, Mira has taken us to the South Korean pavilion, but in the same district, the mobility district at the expo. Movement and change, migration, exposing yourself to new things is something that is so much a part of our future. How are you going to deal with that as a person? For those who aren't afraid and can stay grounded and can build new ideas from that, you're going to thrive. For those who kind of are like, really slow, scared, not sure, that's good. That's good to be suspicious and be careful. But don't wait too long. Somebody's going to move past you and they're going to be leading before you are. So are you ready to take the risk? As Maureen or Mira said, I can't remember who, it's in the book. You have to take that risk. So that's my long way of bringing you back to this idea of how do you deal with culture shock? How do you deal with something new that you have to adapt to? I'd like to ask Mira to address this, and then I'd like to ask Daniel, if you're ready to explain a little bit. Maybe Sue Young, if you're ready. Unfortunately, we don't have a chance to go over the article that you sent, but it was very good. He sent a good piece about some ideas that I wanted to address. And then we'll end with Kellyanne and try to get to Vicky and Nico. But most importantly, let's start with Mira, and we'll see if we have time for Maureen to come in. Mira, can we just ask you for the moment, when you left your community and you went to Expo, well, why did you just stay where you were? Why did you even volunteer to go to Expo? You could have just stayed at home like everybody else. Why didn't you?
Okay, that's a good question, because this was the very first question that I asked myself before pursuing my degree. For us in the city that I lived in, there is one of the most greatest university that everyone goes to called UAE University. And it's a quite a famous university in the United Arab Emirates. But I saw people around me, like the future plans were, okay, we're gonna go study in your university, and then after that, we're gonna graduate, we're gonna get a job, we're gonna get married, and that's it. Life just done. And I just kept in like talk to myself about what I really want to do, what goals I want to set. So first thing that I actually figured that I need to kind of detach myself just a little bit from my community and from where I used to live in, so that I can explore the shock, explore the the opportunities that could pop out at any time, and that would actually happen when I started pursuing my degree in Abu Dhabi. Although Abu Dhabi is just 1 hour away from Elaine, but I did not actually expect I would actually be open to new opportunities. I just expected it to just me pursuing my degree, and that's. But actually, what happened is that my interest in the South Korean culture grew more and more, to the point that I could see opportunities coming into my way just like that, without me planning it. And I started with just promoting South Korean culture in as in the Korean club in the university, and I led that club. I did events and everything, and after that, opportunities came to my way. One of them was participating in an expo in South Korea Pavilion, and that also took me from my space where I study in Abu Dhabi to Dubai, which is a total different city, where international people are all there. It didn't really seem like I was still in my country, because in Expo you could see all pavilions from all around the world and all people from all around the world, specifically in South Korea, where you could only see South Koreans around you. And I did enter the phase of the cultural shock, where I actually see how exactly different um, international people actually work, and what is the structure of their work, how they're very hardworking. Although it's just a phase, it's just 6 months, and that's it. Like Expo is gonna end. They took it in a very serious way. They were hardworking. They even sometimes didn't take a rest. They just wanted to work and prove that they're capable of bringing the best out of them, which also shock for me. And at the same time, it was something um, to be influenced. And I took it as a lesson for me that it's good to work in a hard way, but also it's good to start learning and give space to yourself where you could actually learn new things and not just be attached in one place. And um, whilst studying and also working at the same time, my busy schedule was insane because I used to finish my classes and then drive daily 1 hour from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
Yes.
And this busy life also introduced me to how I can also manage to plan my day and plan when to study, when to work, when to take a rest, when to start learning, when to just enjoy life. And this this was really great for me as a lesson.
This is great. Okay, let's.
That's
I want to thank you for sharing the way you have been. There's so much that you're saying that is relevant to the class today, and I'm actually, this is unexpected. I wasn't expecting as much. So again, I have to change. I have to change the plan. I want to, everything about leadership is seizing a moment. You ever heard the term carpe diem? Carpe diem, it's Latin for seize the moment. You seize the moment. When things are right, you go with it, and you're ready to move other things to the side because you know what you want. And what I want is to make sure that we can interact, and I have your eyes. I have your attention. I'm helping you to learn. And I think I do right now. So I'm going to say to Daniel, and I'm going to say to Su Young and to Kellyanne, we don't have time to hear from you right now, okay? Because we have 5 minutes left. You have an assignment that's due tomorrow. I would suggest that for your assignment, you may want to reflect on this question of how you have dealt or are dealing with the culture shock, if there is such a thing for you, of coming from one part of the world and adjusting here, and how you are dealing with that, and how you think what you learn from that will make you a better leader. Does that make sense? That you could do that for your assignment that's coming. You don't have to, but I'm suggesting this is something you could do for your assignment that's due tomorrow. And then we're going to come back to Mira. I want to end with Mira today because she's has so much that she's saying that's bang on about the way that she is opening herself. But I'm going to ask her a very difficult question before we are done. Okay, so the best part is coming, the grounded part. First, questions. Anything about the assignment that you can, it's due tomorrow, okay? It's everything's posted for you in DC Connect. You can, okay, you can continue with that, but you can also pick one idea that stands out for you. Not in every single class, but just one idea that stands out for the whole first few classes. And I'm suggesting, you don't have to, that the idea of culture shock and how you deal with that could be what you, but you don't have, you can save that till later, okay, Kellyanne? Finish what you've started, okay? Finish what you've started, okay? But I just want to, what I'm trying to say to those of you is I really want to hear from the three of you in this class, but we don't have time. So I'm making an executive decision. We're going to do something else to make sure that we can finish the class where we need to be. Okay? So here's my question for Mira that I think is really important. Mira, do you want to come? We'll come back, okay? Obviously, her faith matters. Mira, how, tell us what it means to be grounded when you're also opening yourself to something new. How do you deal with that bit of kind of stress of like, whoa, this is different, but you know, where do you go to keep yourself rooted? Can you tell us how you kind of balance your faith with the things that are different in the world, that are not really about your faith? They're about all this other stuff that's happening in the world. How do you balance that?
Hmm. That's it's a very important question, especially for me. It was very hard. It was definitely very hard to stick on. I would say praying 5 times a day, trying to connect with God. In Islam, we need to pray 5 times a day and at least read the book, the Quran, and we need to kind of give that a time. And for my busy schedule, it was very hard, but this was actually the priority for me to actually learn, but also the first thing that came into my head is to just stick to my religion, to my values, and to who I am. And this is all connected together, starting from where my roots started ever growing, the foundation that my family built for me, my religion that made me faithful even more and made me actually go on and explore life without being that stressed, without being that anxious, and just surrender myself to God and just make sure that wherever I go, what little thing I can do, it would get me to where I want to be in. And it also reminds me of um, how I was kind of stuck in the another value, another aspect of manifestation, where I could manifest my future goals. And at that phase in my life, I just realized that it goes both way. And I realized that my religion had also taught me to manifest, but also with connecting, manifest to God and to bring back and accept the reality that I am in. So for me to actually go on and explore, it was very important to still remind myself about my values every single day and to pray 5 times a day and to make sure I do these rituals so that I don't forget who I am,
Yes,
not to
yes.
forget my purpose in life.
I want to thank you. There's so much that we could explore here. I want to leave the students with a question, and then we're going to end. It's just going to be a question. A leader has faith in himself or herself. Do you have faith in yourself? Now, there's a lot more we could talk about in terms of a higher power, a God, the gods. We'll leave that to another time. But Mira has just said something that is very important about faith, values. Do you have faith in yourself? If you don't, you need to start trying to. And the more faith you have in yourself, the more you will be able to lead. I'm going to leave you with that, okay, today, just to think about that. Mira, thank you again for coming in and sharing your experience with us in this way. I want to also give a round for Maureen and the work that she's done, and for all of you who come in person and are really engaged with these ideas. You have your first assignment due tomorrow. Um, Everything's posted for you in terms of instructions. You have your question. Nico, just a question. And Edward, Kellyanne, and Sunny. And help me again. RJ, and of course Vicky, Su Young, and Daniel. Just a question for Ariel, Abraham, Ani, Augustine, and the others. You know the drill. If you want the full marks, you have to put the reason in there. And you can always reach me on email if you need to reach me. Otherwise, I look forward to reading your assignments and getting all the marks uploaded. And have a good week. Okay? See you next week, everybody. Take care. The deeper your roots, the more transformative your experience. Who put that in the live chat? That's lovely. Peta, the deeper your roots, the more transformative your experience. Whoa. Reflect on that. What are your roots? Anyways, okay. Let's save the live chat for sure, okay? And I'll save this. Take care, everybody. All right. Let's save. Oh,